He's going to hang on. And he'll stop the fight. Down he goes. Now he's hurt. It's all over.
I told you today, I'm still the greatest of all time. Never again defeat me. Never again say that I'm going to be defeated.
I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
They've thrown the towel in. The fight's all over. The fight's all over.
This is referee Mark Goddard, and it's your time to enter the FightMad zone. Get ready for 5 rounds of uninterrupted FightMad talk. I want you to keep it clean, protect yourself at all times, and remember, no blows below the belt. If you want to touch gloves, do it now. Go back to your corners. Let's do this.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the FightMad Podcast, hosted by myself, Joe Long from Fighters Inc., as we approach 25 years in the combat sports industry. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the FightMad Podcast and YouTube on all good platforms. Now, this week's guest. We've been blessed with our previous guests from the combat sports world, athletes, promoter, industry insider, and I'm delighted to say we've got our first celebrity guest on the FightMad Podcast. Big fight fan. He's actually competed himself as well in boxing and MMA. And on his Instagram, he proclaims himself on his Instagram bio as a father, a comedian, an actor, a club owner, an entrepreneur. Please welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen, Daniel O'Reilly, a.k.a. Dapper. Laughs. Dapper, welcome.
Yeah, I've made it. I'm on this podcast. That officially means I'm actually hard. If I make it on this podcast, my mates are going to be like, what is he doing on that podcast? He's a pussy. Love it.
Brilliant.
What's going on?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm good. I'm feeling good, fresh, excited about this, mate. Joe, ever since I've met you, I've been enthralled by the things you do. So to be part of something, it's great.
Amazing. Now I don't know what to call you, Dan. Do I call you Daniel? Do I call you Dan? Do I call you Dapper on this? Who are you today?
Dan. Call me Dan.
I'm not like I usually do if I'm meeting you for a coffee.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Down the club.
That's it.
I must say that Dan is actually a member of Class UFC Gym Woking. Before we get into it, and if you're bored any day of the week and you want to have a little bit of fun, always get down there. You can always follow them at Class UFC Gym Woking.
You never know. You might bump into me.
You might bump into you.
Yeah.
What have you been up to lately, Dan?
At the moment, mate, it's been locked down, so I've been very busy with my social media. I've had an absolute wealth of content to be able to create, just with the government and the madness of lockdown, the rules, the regulations, how they keep changing. All of that has given me so much stuff to create content around. So I've had great fun. I like to create characters and take the mick out of the situation. From tragedy always comes comedy. So, if you don't laugh, you're going to cry. So just trying to cheer people up through lockdown. I built a couple of businesses during lockdown as well. I'm like, crazily, a nightclub. I bought a nightclub about 3 weeks before I completed on it 3 weeks before the first lockdown. So, I'd spent years coming up with the concept, the vision, the brand, getting the money together, bought it, locked us down. It was like a kick in the bollocks, but it's given me time to, if you could survive something like that, then you're going to be all right. That's my way of thinking of it. This brand I launched as well, Laugh Beer, and this absolutely smashed the life out of it. People couldn't go to the pubs. So on the flip side, because they were locked down, we were sending out these kegs. We over 10,000 of them we sold through lockdown. As you know, because you're helping me with the business. So
don't tell nobody. Don't tell. I've got to say, Laughs Beer I should have had a keggy in myself, but we were actually recording
man.
this in the morning and we're both having a coffee, I think. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been a good idea, but it's actually an amazing beer. So if you're out there, people, get online, Laughs Beer.
Yeah,
You can get it by, but it's like a small keg, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah. 10 pints in a keg. You know, it's good for a sesh, or if you've got your friends around or whatever, or barbecues. We do a cider as well. But yeah, that's the beer. Just check it out. It's good fun.
Right. Speaking of sessions, are you ready to go into the Fight Mad Zone? Are you ready for round one?
Gosh, let's do this.
Let's go.
Seconds out, round one.
You've probably had a few scrapes in your time because you can be a bit leery. And,
yeah, mate.
And you could be misconstrued by some people.
Yeah.
What is Dan's first ever fighting memory?
Do you know what? I grew up on a council estate, so I was very young when I first sort of got into fight. I've been having scraps my whole life. I get chinned. I get chinned quite a lot. I get sparked out. I've been knocked out many times. My mouth's got me into trouble. I like to have a good joke. My old man always used to say to me that, you know, because I wasn't a very good fighter, that if I could make like, say a group of lads started on me, if I didn't think I was going to be able to hold my own, as long as I made all of his fucking mates laugh just before I got sparked out, then whenever he tells a story about knocking me out, they'll all say, yeah, but he fucking done you with that joke. Do you know what I mean? So I always try and get in a good joke before I get sparked. And it's happened a lot. But my first time, I think, my family was quite a violent family, actually. My dad had 7 brothers and 7 sisters. He was one of 14, and they were all Irish. So our families, family dues, weddings, you know, christenings, fucking birthdays, there was always scraps. But my personal first fight, I think I was about 15, and it was with a 12-year-old boy called Matt Pickering, and he beat the shit out of me. He was 12, I was 15. I lived on a council estate in Brooklands, called Brooklands in Weybridge. It's just behind the Brooklands racecourse. And there's loads of us on there. There was the whole council estate was sort of divided in two, and we'd all chuck stones at each other and chase each other around and and you had to pick sort of what side you was on. And on the other side, there was this kid called Matt Pickering, and he was, if he ever watches this, he'll be laughing. He's a fucking massive lump now. I've seen him. He's fucking huge. But even when he was 13, he was about fucking 6 foot. He was a big lump, but he was 13. And he went around telling everyone on the estate that he was going to beat me up. And because I was 15, I was like, fuck it, I'll fucking have a fight with him. But I was shitting myself because he was just chinning everyone. He was this little fucker. And right at the end of the estate, there was like a wasteland that was just all shitty. And we arranged to meet up. That's where everyone would arrange to have a fight. And we arranged to meet up there. And I can remember everyone was there. And I walked up to have a fight with him. And we started laying into each other. And he pulled my fucking jumper from the back over my head. You know, pulled the jumper over my head. So it was over, like, from the back all the way over, and then just beat the fucking shit out of me. Luckily, it was before phones, so no one recorded it. But that was my first, and I can remember being smashed up, but proud of myself. Do you know what I mean? I can remember coming, not because but I mean, everyone took the piss out of me because he was 13, but I stood my ground, and we became friends after that, actually. And whenever I see him in a pub, he always says, "Oh, you know, I beat the shit out of him when I was 13." But that was my first of many. I'll be honest with you. I was very small. I was a small kid. I was a small, tiny kid in comparison. But I'd have it. Do you know what I mean? I used to get involved.
Brilliant. So big shout out to Matt Pickering. I've got to say, absolutely tremendous. Well done, Matt. Big round of applause.
Yeah. Beat the shit out of me. Honestly, it was crazy.
With that being your first fight, Dan, had you done anything before then? Had you hit the gym? Did you go into a boxing gym at a young age, or was that actually your first ever experience?
Well, my dad was a karate expert. He taught karate. He had a dojo in Kingston. I think that's what they call them, isn't it? Is that what they call them? A dojo?
Correct,
yeah. Where he'd have karate lessons. He done exhibitions where he'd do all the stuff. And he never taught me karate, because by the time I was a little bit older, he was out of it. He was into his late 50s or early 50s, so he wasn't doing it. But he was very. But my dad had a horrendous. He was notorious for having an horrendously violent temper. He was a really, really violent man, and he'd done some awful things, beating people up and in situations when he was pushed to it. And he really used to lose his temper. And karate, by the time he found karate, it calmed him down. It gave him that sort of discipline. But the problem was when he blew up, he could really fuck people up. Do you know what I mean?
He'd go.
So he'd go, yeah. So I saw him unfortunately beat up quite a few people actually when I was before then. But I'd never had any training from him or anything like that. But I wasn't afraid of. I wasn't too, afraid of violence. I saw a lot of it.
You see a lot of it, yeah. I get it. Tremendous.
Round 2.
As I mentioned earlier, you've actually had a few bouts yourself, one boxing, one MMA. You raised £13,000 for Help the Heroes.
I did.
I got congratulations on that. That was back in 2017. I know we're having a little sneaky talk, aren't we, about you may be coming back for a fight. May happen.
Yeah. Well, listen, I love the boxing, and I've done it for Help the Heroes because I used to, I still do. But I used to get so many messages from lads over in Afghanistan, or I even had a big group of lads that used to message me all the time that worked on a submarine, on one of the fucking submarines that had our nuclear weapons on them and that, like proper, and boys in the Navy and everything. And they used to watch my humour, and it used to make them feel like they was at home with the lads. And I used to get a lot of messages from the armed forces. So I thought, help our heroes. I'd raise the money for them, and the boxing I really took to a lot more so than the MMA. And I mean, it's not a very graceful fight. If you've watched it, I don't know if you've watched it, but it was like a slugfest. I really fucking went for it. We went for it. There was no skill in it. But now my boxing is really sharp, and I can move and I can feel it coming. And I like getting in there and involved. I'm a lot more technical with my boxing. So I'd love to do another boxing fight. I think I'd look good, but the MMA, I'd never do that again. Fuck that. That. No. Never.
So touching base on that, the actual MMA fight, you actually fought MC Harvey from So Solid crew.
Yeah.
So solid. And
yeah, he was.
And you apparently you actually I didn't see the bout, the MMA. I watched your boxing bout, but you actually walked out to 21 seconds to go, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
How was that bout?
It lasted about 21 seconds. No, I'll tell you what it was. The problem that I had with that is there wasn't enough. I mean, I'm a huge Mike Bisping fan, and he watches my story every night. In fact, yesterday he put a laughing emoji on my story when I was playing golf. I was like fucking about, and he watches my story and stuff. And every time he puts something on it, I do get a bit like, oh my god, because I'm a massive fan. And
he's a big fan of yours. I mean, I've been around his house. He's got a big poster of you on his wall.
Fuck off. Oh, we'd be made up, mate. He's got
we'll have to get him some Laughs beer out there in California, because he's got a nice outdoor bar. So we'll have to sort that out. Yep, I know you're a big fan of Michael, Dan. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. But who is your favourite fighter of all time?
I'm going to go for Prince Nazim Hamed, Naz. And I think, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love loads of fighters, and I'm a big MMA fan, and I've done MMA. And like I said, big Mike Bisping fan, and I love some of the stuff Conor McGregor's done. I know he's not great to love anymore, but when he was coming up, he was exciting. But my childhood revolved around watching Prince Nazim fights. Those old pay-per-view fights that my dad would wait up for. You'd spend fucking, I can't even remember how much it was back then. I think it was 15 quid or something like that, 14.99. You'd wait up all night. I'd wait up with him. He was a massive boxing fan, and it'd be over like that. It'd be like 2 minutes. He'd come in, and everything to do with the entrance. How when he started off and he started being exciting in the ring, and then he took that out of the ring to the entrances, the flip over the rope, the cockiness, and because he was such a small figure of a man. I related to him because I was tiny, but he was so powerful. And, you know, me growing up with all of my friends and that, it was all about who was hardest. And there was all of my mates, there was fights all the time. Everyone was bullying everyone. Everyone wanted to be hard. And he was like, at the time, a little lad that was just fucking sparking out everyone. And I just wanted to be him when I was growing up. And I thought he had an amazing career, and I think he was a real talent. So he's the one. As soon as you asked the question, he was there. So
he was there, and I can see that relating to you as a shorter guy, and the entertainment value.
Oh,
you know,
mate, yeah.
that kind of relates to you know, stuff you're doing, and the psychological warfare which he used to have with athletes.
Oh, mate, the people would be terrified to fight him, wouldn't they? Do you know what I mean? It was like Mike Tyson, you know.
He indeed he was. Psychologically, he was like a lightweight Mike Tyson. And funnily enough, we had Kugan Cassius on episode 3. And exactly the same. He actually got into boxing because of Prince Nassim Hamed.
Really?
Yeah. And if you catch the episode, he actually talks about how when he was younger, any newspaper article, he used to cut it out and save the articles. And he's still got them. He's still got them to this day.
Yeah, I love Kugan. Do you know what the funniest thing is? Even though it's such a big industry, it's a small industry, isn't it? The fight industry, and like there's only a few people that are there doing bits. And I don't know how I started talking to Kugan. I think it was online or whatever. But he's a big piss taker. He really takes the piss, and that's what I love about people. Whenever I'm with him or I'm out, or if he rings me, like before, he'd ring me. Like he rang me ages ago and just said, "Oh, I'm in this pub and I'm over listening to two geezers talking about you, saying that your comedy's shit. It's fucking hilarious." Like he's that sort of guy. But he there's a beautiful clip online of him with talking to Nassim Hamed. I don't know if you've seen it, Kugan, and you can tell that he loves talking to him, but they've already got a rapport because Prince Nassim was taking the piss out of him. So yeah, I'm glad. Yeah,
tremendous. So it's going to go down in the record books. Dan, Dapper laughs, favorite fighter of all time, Prince Nassim Hamed.
Love that.
He's hit the podcast twice in a few weeks. Unbelievable.
Round 3.
This is where we might go a little bit deep. No secret that you've had some controversy in your life in terms of your ban from TV. Back in the day, you had your own TV show, and there was a certain line in there which led to you being banned from TV. I don't know if that was your biggest fight in life, what you had to overcome personally. But round 3, the big question is, what is Dapper Laughs, aka Dan's, biggest fight you've ever had to overcome in life?
I think I've got to give it a year. It's 2014. It's the year 2014, which started with that. You know, after working years and years and years, the turmoil I had with the press, and the line that got me in trouble was actually from a conversation I was having with someone in the audience in a stand-up comedy show. It's taken out of context. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't. It was what they considered a rape joke, but it wasn't like a Jimmy Carr rape joke that was a written joke. You know what I mean? It was I was talking about something, and a woman in the audience, I was talking about an article actually that I think it was The Guardian had done, where The Guardian had called my TV show an almanac for rape because I was teaching men how to talk to women. And I got really angry about it because my family's been affected by sexual violence. And I said that if I wanted to teach people how to rape, I wouldn't have written 6 30-minute episodes. And a woman at the front said, "My friend Lucy loves you. She's gagging for a rape." And I went, "What's that? Lucy's gagging for a rape?" I was arguing with the press at the time. They took that clip, they put it out and said, you know, I mean, it was stupid. I shouldn't have even been talking about it. But as a result of that, the headlines, you know, Dapper Laugh says woman's gagging for a rape. It propelled 60,000 people sign a petition, lose the TV show. That was bad. That was the beginning of 2014. Everything I worked for, I couldn't even get a job in fucking Tesco's after that. Do you know what I mean? I lost my manager. I lost my money, lost my house, lost all my bookings, my brand deals, my TV show. I was fucked. But the biggest fight for me was 2 weeks after that, my dad passed away. And that was, for me, the biggest fight of my life coming through that. Because to be honest with you, and I don't mind talking about it because I talk about it a lot online, but I nearly killed myself, mate. I honestly look back. I still go to counselling now. Every Wednesday I talk to my counsellor about that, about my dad, and about everything that's gone on in my life. And now when I look back on it and go through it with my counsellor, I honestly can't understand how I managed to get through it, because you know, I was on the drugs. I was on drugs, on cocaine and drinking, and my missus said she was pregnant. She got pregnant after we thought she couldn't have a baby. Got rid of her, dumped her, moved out. You know, spent my last bit of money on drugs. I was planning on killing myself, and somehow, from somewhere, I decided that, you know, head down, arse up, get it all back, be a good father. You know, when I decided to get back with my missus and the baby started brewing, I knew I was going to be a dad. It was, you know, it was the end of my dad's life, but the beginning of, it was like, I felt like it was my dad saying, you know, grow up, is fucking, you have to survive. This is a baby. I did say in my stand-up that I felt like my old man had a hand in getting my missus pregnant, but it weren't like that. Do you know what I mean? But I really felt like it was my last gift from him on the last big thing, you know. And then by the time that baby came, I was still fucked for a good 3 years, until after the birth of my second baby. I was still having these big emotional breakdowns and outlashes and fucking everything up. But somehow through that, now, yeah, I'm good. I'm sober. I haven't been on the drink or the drugs. Well, the drugs for a long, long time, but the drink only recent, really, six weeks now sober I am. Not that I was drinking every day, but it was a coping mechanism, which was negative for me. And now I'm happy. 2 babies, just bought a brand new, beautiful house, businesses, comedy. So definitely losing my father.
So losing your father. Dan, just give me you actually alluded, I don't know if you know, you actually alluded to your dad a little bit earlier on in the interview. You know, you mentioned him a couple of times. So,
big part of my life, huge.
Just tell the audience a little bit about your relationship with him and why he meant so much to you.
My dad was an entertainer, not like a professional entertainer, but I mean, he was the life and soul of the party. He had he used to do stuff like, you know, give me a subject, I'll give you a joke. He was a natural born comedian. He was Irish, and our family naturally was based around entertainment. Every Christmas Eve, there'd be like, because there was 14 uncles and aunties, there was about 50 cousins. It was fucking mayhem. There was like 50 of us, and we'd all have to perform. It was like a talent show, so we'd have to either sing, dance. You know, girls got together and they were like Spice Girls. Some people played instruments. I used to tell jokes. My dad used to write me jokes and I'd tell them. And before we could get our Christmas presents. So there was like a talent show every year. We went to all the holiday parks. Entertainment was a big part of our lives. And my old man was not a very nice person when I was growing up. Him and my mum had a horrendous breakup when I was like 3 or 4. Didn't see him for many, many years. Rebuilt my relationship with him in my late teens. Where he was, you know, apologetic and regretful about some of the way he had behaved, and he'd turned a corner, and it was, you know, he'd almost lost his kids and that, and we became best mates. We repaired our relationship and became good friends. And he was the biggest fucking fan I had. He you know, when I was 15, 16, he took pictures, my headshots. He paid for a photographer to take my acting headshots, and then the next thing, he's watching my TV show on TV, and he's in my sold out tour, watching my sold out tours on stage in front of like 20,000 people. Do you know what I mean? So, and then he became Dapper Dad, and he was making his own videos. He had his own following. So both of our dreams come true. Do you know what I mean? So we went on a roller coaster, and when I lost it all, he was the only person around me. Like, everyone was like, "Oh, fuck, I hope you're all right. I'm gutted," and fucking hell, that's embarrassing. He was the only person around me that was like, "Who the fuck give you a TV show anyway? You're a fucking lunatic." Do you know what I mean? He was like, you got thrown out of fucking school. You didn't even finish school. You're a nutter. The shit you come out with, and they gave you a TV show. It's been a result. Do you know what I mean? So when he died, it just cut so deep, because he died randomly. He had a stroke. You know, I managed to speak to him before he died, because I had to fly over to Guernsey. But it cut deep, because I felt like he was. I love my mum, obviously, and everyone, but I really felt like he was the only one that sort of got me, and it was like our dream. Do you know what I mean? It was our dream together. It's like what he would have wanted to do. Do you know what I mean? So it was just a tough one. But, you know, he never got to see me fight either. You know, I always said to him I wanted to fight, and like when I was pulling, the boxing and the MMA was an excuse for me to get off the drink and the drugs. Do you know what I mean? So when I went into camp, when I went in and started training, I was like, I've got to get fit. So I'd go through these like 3 to 6 month periods of being sober, and then come off and celebrate, and then it'd be all back to square one. I think, I'll do the MMA thing now. So it's good that I've kicked it all without having to do that. But imagine how powerful I'd be in a new fight now. Do you know what I mean? So,
Brilliant. Brilliant, Dan. Lovely. So big shout out to Dad. And he goes down on as the biggest fight you've had to overcome.
Round 4.
We touched on music a little bit earlier with your walkout to 21 seconds. You've actually had your own song out, which I didn't know nothing about. I didn't know nothing about this song.
I've had a few. I've had some I've had a top 20. I've had a couple of top 40s. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dan, I did not know. I've got down Andreas put down here Proper Moist, which I thought, is this a wind up? And was that your first track?
Yeah, Proper Moist was meant to be a wind up. That was meant to be a wind up. It's horrendous to listen to now. It's fucking horrendous. But that charted through the power of social media. And then I've done one called Proper Naughty Sesh, which also charted. That's got millions and millions of streams online. That's like a club classic. And then I made 2 garage tunes. One called Good Vibes Only, which is a garage tune, like MC on it. Because I used to MC when I was younger. I used to work in Iron Appa doing entertainment, and I used to go to the nightclubs after and get on the mic and MC. You know what I mean? Hype the crowd.
Really?
Yeah.
You never cease to amaze me. You don't.
It's mad, isn't it?
Can we get like 6 or 12 bars from Dapper back in the day? Back in the day in Iron Appa. Come on, I know you must have 6 bars off the top of the dome.
All right, let me give you something. All right.
Let's go.
Summertime, and I'm feeling in a good mood. Tight tops with a little bit of side boob, looking so sexy. I just want to feel ya. Skip the beer, give me tequila. There you go.
Hey! Tremendous. I'm loving the side boobs. I thought you was digging me out there. I'm trying to keep mine away. Basically, anything that I thought women liked, I just had a crack at it. That's my career. Great. So what is your round 4? What is your biggest musical inspiration and why?
Definitely just garage music as a whole. Garage music for me is such a nostalgic vibe. When I run, it's all the old school garage tunes. I like to do all of my visualization when I run. I actually put a post up this morning that this month I've done 61k running, which is and this week, so 61k and then 16k this week. So I've done 10k this morning. So,
well done, man. Well done.
Yeah, thank you, mate.
Congratulations.
Thank you. For me, running is perfect because I get all my overthinking out of the way to start the day, because I overthink too much. Get all of that, then I can get into sorting out what I've got to do for the day, and yeah, it just beats the day before all of that shit starts to beat me. And I do it to garage because it's such a nostalgic vibe for me. When I was growing up and I went to the under-18s discos, or when I went to clubbing when I was older, it was all that two-step in garage. It brings back them memories, calms me down, and lets me visualize what I want to happen with my day, my week, and my month. And so 21 seconds was actually a fucking raving record for me when I was growing up. 21 seconds was huge. Harvey from So Solid, I was a massive fan. Me and him are really close mates, like our families are close, me and him. And when that fight come up, what it was they kept offering me people that I thought I could beat. And me and Harvey got the same manager, and we were both offered the fight. And then the manager went, well, why don't you fight Harvey? And I was like, fuck, like he'd definitely beat me. So that's why I didn't want to fight someone I thought I could beat. I wanted to fight someone that I thought could beat me. Do you know what I mean? To make me really go for it. And then I knew that if I lost, people would be like, at least you tried. But if it was a pussy that beat me, they'd be like, ah. So you know what I mean? So coming out to 21 seconds really did hype me up until I fucking saw him stood in the cage. And then I was like, fuck. But yeah.
Tremendous. What is your favorite from garage? Because I suppose garage is more about producers, right? As much as as much as actual artists. What is your favourite track? Favourite old school garage track?
Oh man,
I know that's a tough one.
That is a tough one, but I'll probably go for God. I don't know. It's the Way. Just gets me going. It's the way. It's the way. It's the way. Something like that. Or It's a London Thing is iconic. I love that. It's a London Thing. And the beautiful thing is all of these artists that I looked up to, DJ like MC Neat, you know, all of these, MC Vapor. I can remember as soon as I got my blue tick, I started following them. I waited till I got my blue tick because I knew if I followed them, they'd see it, right? Because you got the blue tick, you get the. So I started fucking following them all, and then now I know them all. Do you know what I mean? I've done events with them. I've booked them at all of my big shows, and so we're not besties. So it's good.
Brilliant. Absolutely great. You've educated me there on your musical knowledge. I wouldn't have had you down for a house and garage man, to be honest. No, I wouldn't have had you down as that. But I know a little bit about the clubbing scene as a promoter. I mean, we've done a million and one after parties over the years, literally, you know, with whoever and whenever, you know, all around the world. But what was your out of interest for me? What was your first London club night which you went to in terms of house and garage? Can you remember that?
Ministry of Sound.
Was it Ministry of Sound? Was it? Yeah,
it was Ministry of Sound. Yeah, and Leicester Square, was that Leicester Square? No, what was the one on Leicester Square? No, what am I thinking? It was Hippodrome. The Hippodrome. So I think it was. Actually, to be completely honest with you, they're probably my biggest memories. But my first actual, you know, venturing out of my town and venturing away from my bars and going to a club night was the Works in Kingston. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, the Works.
Yeah. Funny enough, a good friend of mine who I grew up with, DJ Colin Francis, plays down there, I think, sometimes.
Does he?
Yeah. I think he plays down there now and again, or did do back in the day. And I know he's been to your club down at
mate.
Clapham as well.
I couldn't believe he showed up. Yeah, we're having an opening night, and he come. I said, "Have you come down to DJ?" He went, "No, I fucking ain't." I was like, "All right." But I couldn't believe it, and I couldn't believe he knew who I was. He was like, "All right, Dapper," and I was like, "Oh, fucking hell." So big Colin Francis. I mean, this industry is fantastic when stuff like that happens. When someone like that walks into your nightclub, it's great.
Yeah, you know, actually, it is a fun fact for you, Dan. Telling me about your music days. Colin Francis is actually the official DJ for Fighters Inc. from our first event in 1997. Was our first DJ and still our official DJ, obviously because he's a friend. And it was myself and Colin what put together the platinum selling compilation albums, My Bow Sessions. There's a fun fact for you, son. That was me and Colin.
Really?
There you go.
What don't you do?
Let's move on. Round number 5. It's the final round of the FightMad podcast.
Round 5.
As we celebrate nearly 25 years of Fighters Inc. Talking about friends, people you've worked with over the years. This last question is a great one, and we know in the fight industry and in life you need solid people around you. If you could create your own dream corner team for life, I want you to name me 3 people, who they would be, past or present, and why.
I'm probably going to get a lot of stick for this first one. People will take the piss out of me, but number one spot's got to be my missus. It's got to be. I've got to have her there because every morning when I wake up, she knows what to say, and every night when I go to sleep, she do you know what I mean? She's there looking after me. She stuck by me. You know, I met her when I had money and fame. I lost it all, and it must have been horrifically embarrassing to be with me. She stayed with me through that. Then I lost my dad, went off the rails. She came back to me, and also she's funny, but yeah, she's just a fucking hard northern woman, mate. And she don't let me fuck about, so she keeps me in shape. She would be the strict one of the team, saying, "Fucking come on, keep going, do this, don't do that." You know, she'd be there. She's my rock. So
Tremendous, and we all need someone like that in our lives. I've got one as well. Absolutely amazing. And there's no shame in that either, Dan, because some of the biggest fighters, you know, they're saying they're misses as well. Don't worry about that.
Good.
Number two.
Number two, my dad. It's an obvious one, you know. Obviously, you can tell that he's got a very special place in my heart. But also, he was a great fighter, disciplined fighter. Once he learned discipline, and I think I could probably learn a thing from him. So if I could get him back, and just because he'd never seen me, I mean, he'd seen me scrap, but he'd never seen me fight. So my dad, he'd be number two.
Brilliant. And number three, last but not least,
Lee Evans, the comedian.
Really?
Yeah, man. I've just got to say Lee Evans because just because, like, it's not just, I don't know. I just think because he inspired me so much when I was younger. When I first ever saw a stand-up comedian, it was Lee Evans, the DVDs. And I know he'd be no good from a fighting aspect, but it would just be fucking wicked because I've never met him and he's always inspired me. And I look up to him and I just think that it'd be fucking funny to have a comedian in your corner.
Brilliant. So did he have a big influence on you getting into comedy? Mate,
yeah, it was if this ever got out, it'd probably be like, fucking don't say that. but I can remember I was around a friend, so I didn't even really know much about stand-up comedy. I mean, I'm talking when I was about 13, 14. By the age of 13 or 14, I already wanted to be an actor. Do you know what I mean? I was actively doing auditions when I was 13, 14, 15. I auditioned for EastEnders, Grange Hill. I auditioned for loads of stuff. Never got any parts. I was a bit too much of an overactor back then. So someone actually suggested to me, have you ever thought of comedy? Because you can't fucking act, when I was younger. But I never really looked into it until one day I was at a friend's house and I was captivated by a Lee Evans. Someone put a Lee Evans DVD on and I didn't laugh. I just watched it for the solid. The whole thing, his energy, what he was doing, what the audience were doing. And it was just there and then that I was like, yeah, that is what I want to do. And from the first time I ever stood on the stage doing stand-up in front of like 5 or 6 people, I thought I'd made it then. It was fucking amazing in front of 5 or 6 people, up to 20, 25,000 people, selling out UK and Australian tours. Always in my mind, like thinking back to watching Lee Evans and thinking that's what I want to do. So, yeah.
Brilliant. So big shout out to Lee Evans. We'll have to tag him in and get
Let's
Andrew
hope he's a fan.
Let's hope he's a fan. Let's hope he's a fight fan. You never know. I actually do know a football agent who's very close to us, Barry Neville, who works with Teddy Sheringham, who's actually been a mentor for me and Paul at Fighters Inc. over the years. He's actually fairly close to Lee. So you never know. You never know.
Pull some strings, mate. Get me an introduction.
You never know. You never know. Dan, it's been amazing having you on. What's next up for you, mate? What you got going on and coming up in the future?
Just films, mate. Now films. We started a film production company. We've been about 1.5 years. We just made a film that's coming out soon. I made it with Terry Stone. It was a West End play that we done. It's called The Last Heist. That I raised the money for that myself. That film's coming out in a few months. And we've got another 3 films that we've just finished financing. So we're putting together our production teams, producers, directors. So the future for me is hopefully in the movie industry. So, you know, I'm making my own films and casting myself in them because why not? So
why not? Are they the next ones you're doing? Are they comedy based or are they the actual dramas or? The key to creating a successful production company is to not pigeonhole yourself too much, I think, and that's what we've been advised. So we're trying to take a stab at every genre. Science fiction, we've got like a comedy gangster film coming up. We've got like a coming of age film that's coming. Some of them I'll be right for, some of them I might not be right for, but the production company itself wants to put a bit of everything out, so we're not too pigeonholed for projects that come our way and stuff that we want to finance. So fingers crossed, mate. There's a lot of people out there that don't want me to get involved in this industry, but
TV's gone, so films are the way forward.
There's an old saying, Dan, and it's called "numbers don't lie," and your numbers don't lie, my friend. So
Thank you,
you know they'll have to deal with it.
They will.
It's been great having you on, Dan. Thank you everybody for tuning into the Fight Mad podcast with my man Dapper Laughs. Been a great show. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the Fight Mad podcast on all platforms and YouTube, and also give us a follow on social media at Fighters Inc. I'm your host Joe Long, and I look forward to catching you next time on the Fight Mad podcast.